Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for coming to the October meeting. Today we have Miss Renee from the Pennington Biomedical Research Center, which for those of you who don't know, which is just down the road from campus on Perkins and is easily an opportunity for some experience when jobs open as well. So without further ado, Miss Renee.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for saying that because I grew up in Baton Rouge and I had no idea what happened at Pennington. I mean, I must have driven by it like a million times growing up and never had any idea that dietitians worked there or that there was a research facility. I didn't know. So anyway, so thank you for inviting me here. Let's see, let's try this. Okay. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself, how I ended up where I am today in terms of my career. And then I'll tell you about what we do in the Metabolic Kitchen and some interesting studies that we have either going on or that are in the works that we're planning. So I'm going to start way back in 1994, and it all started because I wanted to be a ballerina when I grew up. I promise I have a point here. So added some pictures for effect. That's me in 1994. Budding ballerina. So then fast forward almost 10 years later, and I still wanted to be a ballerina when I was a senior in high school. And really, I didn't know what else I wanted to do. I was, decent at ballet. And so I thought, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to major in dance. So I decided to go to the University of Alabama because I had the opportunity to go to college out of state and it wasn't too close, it wasn't too far, and they have a really good dance program there. So that's what I did. So all was great. I auditioned for the program and got in. Freshman year, going to my dance classes, having a great time. And then the dance faculty pulls me aside and they're like, hey, we need to have a conversation privately with you. So they sit me down and they're like, okay, so you're doing great, technique's looking fantastic. However, we're sorry to tell you that you're not going to be successful in our dance program here unless you lose some weight. Womp womp. So I was sad because I knew that I was not going to be successful in their dance program because I knew what it was going to take for me to lose weight and I wasn't willing to do it. So I said, never mind that, and that's kind of what sparked my interest in nutrition. So, lucky for me, the University of Alabama also has a fantastic nutrition program, so I switched my major to nutrition. Yeah. And so Alabama has a coordinated program in dietetics, and I don't know if they still do or not. Anybody know if they still do? Yes. Okay. So luckily, I was able to do my dietetic internship with my senior year of classes, so that when I graduated, I was eligible to sit for the RD exam. So that was pretty cool. Hello.
Hi. Sorry, we just got done with the lab.
It's okay. So then I graduated in 2007, and I was just telling this story. I moved back to Baton Rouge, and I needed a job for a dietitian, and I did not, I was applying to like some M&T jobs in hospitals, and my mom said, hey, Pennington, they have dietitians who work there, and I said, oh, really? Okay, so I looked for job openings there, and there was one, so I applied, and I got the job, thank goodness, and it was in the Metabolic Kitchen, which I knew nothing about at the time, but I'm about to tell you a lot about it, because I know a lot about it now. So fast forward to 2015, I was promoted to director of the Metabolic Kitchen, and so that's the role that I still have today. Okay, and this is part of our team in the Metabolic Kitchen. So what we do in the Metabolic Kitchen, we're a commercial food service facility, but we exist to feed the study participants. So any study that's going on at Pennington that requires some sort of dietary intervention where participants actually eat something that comes from the study as part of the study, that's where the kitchen comes in. So we support the research by providing precisely measured diets to study participants. So this is part of our team there during, pandemic, all masked up. So a little bit about our facilities. So this part isn't maybe not that exciting to you, but but we look really just like a standard food service kitchen, like lots of stainless steel, big oven, steamer, big range with lots of burners. But the biggest thing that sets us apart from a hospital kitchen or just a standard food service kitchen is that we have these electronic balances throughout our kitchen. So you can see them in some of the pictures here, just like you use in chemistry lab. And so we use those to weigh all of our foods to 1/10 of a gram for our study participants. And so measuring the food this way ensures that we provide our participants with exactly what we need them to receive in terms of their study diet. So, okay, more pictures of our kitchen. You can see our electronic balances throughout the area. So all of our diets, we use menu planning software to plan our diets, and everything is planned in grams. So then, let's see, I have a picture of our production sheet coming up. Okay, well, let me rewind a little bit and tell you about the dietitian's role in our kitchen. So our dietitians will work with our principal investigators on the different study protocols, and so whatever that study requires of the diet, maybe it's an overfeeding study or a calorie restriction study, or maybe the diet is a ketogenic diet or a Mediterranean diet or a DASH diet. So whatever it is, the dietitian will work with the investigator to plan that diet specifically. And normally we'll plan our diets in terms of providing calories from macronutrients. And then we also, sometimes micronutrients as well. However, we have to be careful with how we plan our diets because preparing food this way by weighing everything to 1/10 of a gram takes a really long time. So we try to do as much as we can up front, a lot of pre-prep, a lot of pre-planning in general, to make sure that we can be as efficient as possible whenever we have our study participants come in who we need to feed. So a lot goes into planning the menus. The specific food items are chosen based on the menu planning program. So, say we want to feed our participant something simple like a turkey sandwich. Well, when you go to the grocery store and you're looking for your bread, there's how many different brands of bread? They all have different nutrition facts associated with them. So when we plan an item into our menus, we have to look at the nutrition facts for the item we planned into the menu, bring that to either the grocery store or our food service provider, we order from Cisco, and match the nutrients on the actual food to the food that we used in the menu planning program so that we know that participants are receiving what we planned for them, right? So there's lots of detailed work involved with planning the diets. And then sometimes if it's a study where the diet is very specific and maybe the diet is really important to the overall purpose or outcome of the study, we'll have our diets chemically analyzed. And to do this, we'll prepare the diet just like we would feed it to a person, but then we'll put the entire menu day in a giant blender and blend it all up and make a menu day smoothie and take little samples of it and send them off to a lab for chemical analysis. And so that way we can see if we're on target with matching all of our individual study foods, or if we're way off on the fat, or the protein or the carbohydrates, maybe there was a food in there that we missed that we need to go back and reevaluate, or maybe it's the method that we're using. We also have to be very specific about our methods. For example, when we're preparing a recipe, we can't just weigh out all of the items to 1/10 of a gram and then just kind of haphazardly dump them into a bowl. We gotta get the spatula and really scrape the bowl clean, get as much out of the bowl as we can. So we try to make the process as controlled and specific as possible so that we really know what we're feeding our participants. So what else? Okay, so this is an example of a production sheet that we would use. So the dietitians would, after they plan the diet, they'll also screen our study participants. So if somebody is interested in participating in a study, they always go through our clinic at Pennington and go through the informed consent process. So we make sure that they know what they're getting into and what they know what to expect and all of that. And so we'll meet with the participant, show them the list of foods that they would be consuming in the study, make sure they don't have any food allergies or intolerances, and make sure that they're able to eat the diet for as long as they need to. And so then after the participant is screened, we will estimate their calorie needs in a variety of different ways. Sometimes it's just an equation and an activity factor. Sometimes they'll stay in our metabolic chamber, which measures their energy expenditure, or sometimes they do we measure their resting metabolic rate under the hood, where they lay down and have the hood for 30 minutes. And then we also apply an activity factor there. Sometimes we also measure their energy expenditure using doubly labeled water, where let's see, I don't know exactly how it works. Have you guys learned about doubly labeled water? Yeah, okay, so cool. So you probably know more about how it works than I do if you recently learned about it. Anyway, so we have a variety of different ways to measure their energy expenditure. But once we have a participant, we know how many calories we're going to give them. We know what diet they're assigned to. Then the dietitians will print production sheets for the participant, and the production sheet looks like this on the left. So it'll have the participant's calorie level there. So this dinner here is 900 calories. So in this instance, they only received a dinner for this day. And then you can see the food items there on the left, and then the gram weights on the right. So we would go down this list, and whoever is preparing the meal would weigh out each of the individual food items. So the catfish almondine would have been prepared in advance, probably in frozen. We like to do that whenever possible because it saves us time whenever it comes time to actually assemble the trays. But then the green beans, potatoes, shortbread cookies, and whole wheat roll, we're going to weigh out those green beans. It can be between 150.3 to 150.5. So you gotta get your knife out. Weigh out the green beans, cut the little piece if it's not exactly 150.3 to 150.5. So it takes a little more time than your traditional meal prep methods. But yeah, hello. Okay. And so then, I want to add also, so every time a meal is prepared in the kitchen, the staff member who prepares it initials that they prepared it, and then another staff member comes back and double checks that all of the items are present on the tray. So that's just one way we can make sure that the participants are receiving all the items that we intended for them to receive. Do you have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to eat every bite of the food provided?
It depends on the study. Sometimes, and that's part of the screening process, especially if it's a study where participants have to eat everything. We make sure and tell them that so that they're not surprised when they leave something on their plate and we come back and say, hey, actually, could you eat those last 5 green beans or whatnot? But sometimes we have actually, for some studies, we've provided participants with a spatula on their tray so that they can really scrape out the bowl, make sure that they really eat everything. Because we're weighing it out to a tenth of a gram. And so if the participant has to eat everything, then, we want to make sure that they're getting all those tenths of grams. And the residue that's left behind most often are the fats and the oils. So we all know those have the most calories. So we don't want them leaving any of that good stuff. So the meals that we make we give them to participants. Lately, really in the past, even before the pandemic started, we had been packing more and more meals to go. So a lot of times we'll pack meals to go and send them to go with participants. But we do have a nice big outpatient dining area and also an inpatient unit. So sometimes participants can eat their meals, and this is a picture of our dining area. And then other times we have participants staying on the inpatient unit. We've had participants live on our inpatient unit for since I've been there for as long as probably 3 months, about 12 weeks. Yeah. And then also in the metabolic chamber, which is also I consider part of our inpatient unit. Okay, so we talked about this kind of, the screening is very important because I think it really helps our participants to be adherent to the diet. So I like to, whenever I meet with the participants, kind of explain the way that we prepare the meals, especially if they are going to have to eat everything. I like to tell them, hey, we make all this food in our metabolic kitchen upstairs, and we weigh it all out to a tenth of a gram. We make it especially for you, for the exact amount of calories, protein, fat, carbs that you need. And so I think that it helps them, understand how important it is for them to also do their job to eat everything. So, because when we pack meals to go, it's easier for the participant, less burden, but the trade-off is that we don't know for sure whether or not they're eating all of their food. So we have a few different things that we do to estimate adherence. So usually what we'll do is send them with a daily checklist where we just ask them to verify whether or not they ate everything. And then we'll follow up with them when they turn in the checklist. And so they know that we're looking at it. We're looking at the answers to their questions. And so, of course, they could say, like, yes, I ate everything, when they really didn't. But, I think it's harder to be dishonest when you have somebody who you're forming a relationship with, who's asking you, like, pretty please just tell me if you didn't eat it. That's okay, because things happen, and we just want you to do your best and be honest with us, because that's what we need to know, if they didn't eat everything, so that we can estimate their actual intake, right? So yeah, so sometimes in the past also we'll ask participants to return empty containers, which I don't like to do that because it's kind of gross. Some participants are cleaner with their containers than others. We'll ask them to rinse it out once they finish their meal, but I don't know, not everybody does a great job. But we have in the past also measured compliance using return of empty study containers. And then, of course, if they eat their meals on site, it's easier for us to monitor them to make sure that they're eating all their food. Okay, so these are just some pictures of some different meals that we have provided on some different diets that we've done. So we've made all different kinds of diets, but so this one on the left was a taco-less salad for a ketogenic diet, and then this one on the right. So another type of study that we do sometimes, we'll have to, we're measuring like a specific supplement almost. So this tray on this side, so we had this stuff, this like green powder called apothel that was made from spinach, and it was supposed to affect satiety. So we gave the participants a lunch here. Everybody got the same lunch. Hey, and we prepared this little apothel supplement for them. So they were to drink the apothel with the lunch, and then a few hours later we gave them a food intake test where we prepared them a meal with more food than they could eat in one sitting, and we looked at how much they ate of the food. And so one time they came and they got the apothel, one time they came and they got the placebo, and we looked to see if there was a difference in how much they ate of the food intake test those few hours later. So our appetite test meals, we do a lot of these appetite test meals. So they're used to estimate changes in the participant's appetite over the course of an intervention. So we do a few different kinds. This is sort of a kind that's mimicking like a regular meal, just large portions. We also have done single item meal appetite tests where we would just give a participant like a family-sized tray of lasagna, for example, and just say, you can eat, please eat until you're comfortably full. And we measure how much they eat. We also have buffet style meals where we'll give participants like 18 different food items. And sometimes the buffet style meals the different food items are assigned to different like macronutrient categories. Like we'll have a high protein, like a high and low fat, high protein, high and low fat, high sugar, high and low fat, high complex carb. And so that way we can also pick up on changes in the types of foods the participants are wanting to eat over the course of the study intervention. So we'll weigh all the food before it's served to the participant, and then we'll set the food up on a table for them. We'll set it up the same way every time, so that if the cookies are like, a little closer this time versus the next time, it's not because, won't affect the amount that they eat. And then we'll let the participant eat the meal, and then we'll measure the food after, or weigh the food after they finish eating it to see how much they ate. Yep. That's appetite tests. Okay, so and so this is sort of along the lines of the different the studies we do with supplements. So sometimes we'll be tasked with coming up with getting creative, making a food item, or finding a way to incorporate a supplemental experimental product into a food. Like maybe it's too much to put into a capsule, so we'll have to incorporate it into an actual food item so that somebody can eat it versus like taking 60 capsules of it. So this Nutrisorb 5011 is a type of tarragon that we've been studying for a number of years that's supposed to help with insulin sensitivity. And so it doesn't taste great, but the active dose is too much to put into capsules. So they said, okay, well, guess what? The kitchen can just make something delicious. That way people can eat it and they'll be excited about eating it. So we said, okay, yeah, we're up for that. Okay, so here was the assignment to create a 250 calorie bar that looks and tastes acceptable. Okay, so we can do that, no problem. However, it has to contain 30 grams of this Nutrisorb, and that's 120 calories. And it also has to contain 11 grams of fat, and that's 100 calories. So did anybody do the math and know how many calories are left over for us to actually make the bar taste good? Yeah, 30 calories. So we were like, okay, well, maybe we can put some like artificial sweetener or like some cocoa powder. The stuff is brown, like the Nutrisorb is kind of brown. So like we can do this. Okay, and they were like, but no, we can't use artificial sweeteners. We can't have anything that's like bioactive because that'll compete with the bioactives in the actual tarragon. So we're like, well, what are we going to do? So it took a lot of trial and error, but we ended up making it with, they told us we could use stevia. Thank you. So we used some stevia, we used some coconut extract, and then we put some like chopped up granola bars and like toasted coconut on top to make it look better and have a little more crunch. And so we came up with something that, you know, it's not the most delicious thing in the world. It looks a lot better than it tastes, but we had to do a formal taste test, and it passed. So yay. Yeah, so now we're doing a little phase 2 of this study where where participants have to eat the entire bar, and we're doing like not an OGTT, but like a mixed meal tolerance test where we draw blood at a few different time points after they eat the bar to see if we can track when the bioactives are showing up in their blood. So yeah, so that was an adventure. So this is why I've been at Pennington for 15 years. There's always a new challenge, and sometimes the challenge feels like we are never going to figure this out. Or if it's a study, maybe it's like, you know, how are we ever going to make it through this entire study? But then time passes and we figure it out, or we make it to the end of the study and we're like, oh my gosh, look, we did it. And then there's a new study and we have to start all over. But it keeps it interesting. You know, it's definitely, it keeps it exciting. So I want to tell you guys about some current and upcoming studies that I think are a little more interesting, because we do a lot of all different kinds of metabolic research, and some as a dietitian are more interesting than others. So these are a few that are either ongoing or coming up that I think are a little more interesting, sort of have a more of a nutrition aspect. So we're doing one study right now. We call it Diet and Asthma because we're looking at 3 different diets and how they affect asthma symptoms. So the PI is it's Dr. Jake May, and he is a dietitian, so yay. And so our 3 diets are kind of a dietary guidelines diet, which is just kind of like an overall healthy diet that follows the dietary guidelines. And then we have that same dietary guidelines diet, but we replace 20% of the calories with MCT oil. And then the third diet is a ketogenic diet. So this is a study that's ongoing right now. So I think we've only finished maybe a third of our participants. So we'll see what happens. But I thought that was interesting. And then, so the next one we have coming up, so this one we're working on right now, and the principal investigator on this one is also a dietitian, so yay for that, Dr. Ribello. And so this one is the effect of a low glycemic diet, index diet, and exercise program on insulin sensitivity. So Dr. Ribello has this soy pod flour where it's like whole edamame pods, like with the beans that are ground up into this flour. So we have been trying to incorporate it into different foods, different smoothies, and like baked items and whatnot. And we finished a study a few months ago that was sort of looking at the tolerable dose of the soy fiber and the acceptability of the foods. And so that one went really well. So now we're incorporating these foods into this next study. So this was going to be a 12-week feeding study where all the participants are receiving a low glycemic diet. Half of them are going to receive also these soy fiber foods in their diet, and then half are not. And then they all will do the exercise program as well. So so that'll be a fun one. That'll be a big one. 12 weeks of feeding is a long time to feed a person for research. Okay, and then the last one, and the most exciting one, I think, is this Nutrition for Precision Health study. So this is a study that we're collaborating with a lot of other research centers all over the country. And so we're going to be feeding participants 3 different diets. So they get each of the diets for 2 weeks. There is a Mediterranean dash blend diet. There is a high fat, it's like a high healthy fat diet. And also a typical American diet, which is, the one that is, it's like mostly higher refined foods, higher added sugars, lower fiber. So our participants eat each of these diets for 2 weeks, and we're doing all kinds of testing on them, lots of questionnaires, lots of, sample, like biosamples and that sort of thing. And hopefully at the end of the study, the goal is to see, so the study's being done across the country in thousands of people. So the goal is to see if, based on your individual you-ness, if we can predict if one of these types of diets or dietary patterns would be more beneficial to you as an individual. So that one's really cool, and I'm excited to start that one. So it's been a challenge because we have to be on the same page as like 9 or 10 other metabolic kitchens where we're all using the same products, all doing things the same way. And so it's been difficult because we can't always find the same products here that can be found in Boston and Chicago and LA. Anyway, so there are challenges, but it's been fun. It's been fun getting to meet other dietitians who do the same thing that I do, because that's rare. There aren't that many metabolic kitchens, so it's been pretty cool. So, and then, okay. Oh, yeah, so we also do some community outreach. So most recently, we have this project called the Rolling Store, where we go to different community centers and we'll do a cooking demonstration, and we'll hand out bags of fresh fruits and veggies to the attendees, just to encourage everybody to go home and make something delicious for themselves and their families. So. And most importantly, we are looking for a new student worker. So if this sounds fun to you, and these are things that you're interested in, then you should apply to come work with us and with Katie, because she works with us. So it's a fun thing to do work with your hands, and yeah.
Every day's a new day. You just cook food all day. It's fun.
Yeah, there's
cook food, try food.
Yeah, especially right now because we're having so many new studies that are getting started. Katie's been testing a lot of recipes for us. I appreciate that. So thank you.
It's fun. I like it.
Yeah, good. All right, so that's everything that I have. Do y'all have any questions for me? Yeah.
I have a question. So when it comes to participants, are there certain qualifications that fall under?
Yeah.
To be in the research?
Yes, there are, and it's different for every study. So usually it starts with a web screen. So anybody who's interested in participating goes to, you can go look at the Pennington website and see the list of studies and click on each one, and it'll tell you the if it's a certain age or BMI or some, you have to have type 2 diabetes, or there's all kinds of different qualifications that you have to have for certain studies. But first you answer a web screener to kind of weed out major disqualifiers, and then participants will come into the clinic. That's sort of the next screening. They'll come into the clinic, and somebody will actually maybe they'll do blood work or talk to somebody face to face to measure their height, weight, blood pressure, all those other sorts of things. And there are dietitians who work in the clinic and do a lot more like counseling, and we have dietitians who work with the school food service and do a lot of like work with like the school lunch programs, and there are dietitians who do a lot with like one of the labs at Pennington does a lot with food photography, like developing this software where you can take a picture of your food and it'll estimate how much you ate of it. Like it can just take a before and after picture, estimate how much you ate, and then I think they're even trying to like work on a component of the app that will give you feedback, like, oh, you should increase your whole grains, or you should, I don't know, eat more fruit or whatever. So lots of opportunities at Pennington for dietitians. Yes.
Before you knew about Pennington, were there any other categories of dietetics that you were interested in?
I'm trying to think back. What was I interested in? Well, it definitely wasn't food service. I was like, food service, get out of here. Like that doesn't sound fun to me. Especially going through, I don't know. Yeah. So I thought like outpatient counseling was really interesting. I think like because of what sort of inspired me to switch my major to nutrition, I always have been really interested in like eating disorder counseling, like more of the psychology side of things. I have not wound up, doing anything with that, but that was always interesting to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
I have a question about Pennington.
Okay.
So for the studies, are the study instructors or the PIs internal employees of Pennington, or are they like contracts with third parties?
They're all internal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to be employed at Pennington to do studies?
Well, sometimes you have to at least partner with somebody at Pennington. Yes. So we do sometimes have the faculty at Pennington will partner with somebody externally, either sometimes from industry or at another research facility, and they'll partner up and do a study at Pennington. But yeah, you always have to have a buddy who's on faculty or not necessarily on faculty, but who is at Pennington to do the study. It's a good question. Okay. All right, well, thank y'all very much. And hey, apply for our student worker position. We're pretty fun. We're pretty fun to work with. Yeah.
As a thank you for coming, Lydia put together a present box.
Thank you. Thank you, Lydia.
A present box. That's so sweet.
Lydia,
Your present.
thank you, Lydia.
Just for you, Miss
sweet.
Renee. You're welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
All right. Well, yes, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Hopefully you'll hear from somebody for the application.
I hope so. I'll be checking on our the applications.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So,
Be traffic.
Summer part.
Yes.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Adjourn.
See you on Thursday.
Yes.
So she hasn't told you yet because she's like waiting for this Thursday. Okay. They're having this. Oh, sure. I hate that. I hate it when it does. No, the office one where it's time. It's actually.
I get the ones that's like open your YouTube app.
Yeah, that's what it does. And then as you pick in the number, that's how they see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like, I haven't been in them years. So she's like, so I'll let you know after.
So basically, she's going to start in grade. She gets I guess.
That's what I'm used to. Yeah, she said she would told me it was
I'm curious. I think on Thursday, I think I'm gonna stay there until like 1 or 2. So like, the meeting's probably not even last an hour. So after, I'll be able to do what she says.
Okay. So that was Miss Renee. Our next month meeting, we'll have Miss Emily from the Student Health Center. She's a dietitian at the Student Health Center, and she does counseling. Olivia, our secretary, works with her, and I'm sure she can attest for how well of a dietitian she is. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. Volunteer experience. We have a lot of things coming up this month, so don't forget to track your volunteer experience with this link. Take lots of pictures, and when you track your volunteer experience, that puts you in the running for Member of the Month. So keep up with that. And champions.
Yay, we won again.
Round of applause. 4 years in a row.
I sacrificed my own health for this one.
She was drugged on
I am still
Benadryl
drugged
all
up.
last week.
I have they gave me the highest amount of prednisone you can get. So next year we just have to figure out how to do it again without as much glue.
Yeah.
That is our task.
Maybe the problem was spray glue.
Yeah.
We need some of that like syrup. Just slap it on there.
Or I just don't do as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Watch. But four times. Woo.
But yes, thank you to everybody who came out and helped do the hay bale. It obviously was very much worth it. And it was pretty killer in my opinion. Like, look
If
at
you would
that
like
tiger.
a piece of it, I saved the leaves and the fruit. They're in the closet. I'm not going to touch them. You can go in there and get it. It's right next to the bathroom.
The fruit had little hands.
They have little
They're,
hands and
they're really
googly
cute.
eyes. If you want your leaf, you paint it.
Yeah. Look at all those trophies, all the tractors. Okay. So coming up this Thursday, seniors, don't forget about the DI internship application workshop. That's going to be through the sign up link that we did, that Dr. McKinley emailed us. I got a reminder today, so be sure to look in your email for that reminder and follow that link for this Thursday.
Yeah, I'm going to email the seniors tomorrow anyway.
Okay. Update on the graduate school fair. We have 2 more coming. Marywood University, which is a distance MSDI program, and University of Texas Medical Branch MSDI. And this is an in-person event downstairs, in Nat Hall, downstairs in the lounge. And this is welcome to everybody, freshmen to seniors, especially seniors, to start like involving and introducing yourself to the DI directors and getting information about the potential programs that you would be interested in. So most of, I think all of the Louisiana DI programs are coming in.
Everyone but tech.
But tech.
Remember, email me back.
Okay. Well, here's my tech. And then the additional DI programs from Marywood and Texas Medical Branch. That's next Thursday, November 3rd, 4 to 6. So the register date already passed, which is yesterday, but if you got to register yesterday and you're following your email, hopefully you got to be able to sign up for those business cards. If you've never had a business card, I highly recommend looking into getting a few, especially if you're interested in going to conferences like the FNCE conference or leadership conference with AFA that the College of Ag promotes all the time. I've been to 4 of those conferences through AFA, and I just kind of like did this with my cards because everybody wanted to know your name, everybody wanted to know where you're from and your contact information. So it's always good to have that card, even if you're going to one of the union events with the, what's that center called? The Career Center on campus. If you go to one of those events, it's always nice to just be able to have the information at your disposal. So hopefully you got to do that. But this starts next week, Monday through Thursday. For those going to the DI program event Thursday, the The Ag Career Fair is also Thursday, and they have a free headshot booth. Seniors, I highly recommend participating in that because you all need proper
If you're
headshots.
in my class, you need a headshot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, also, if you're a freshman, go ahead and get that done. You'll be doing your LinkedIn, you'll be doing your Weebly account if you took Ag 101. So, this is required for Ag 101 as well. But I highly recommend etiquette dinners. That's also like really good experience. I've never been invited to an interview dinner, but because I haven't. Yeah, etiquette is a real thing, guys. It's a real thing, and if you're ever like in a situation, especially with interviews and the career center events, and they ask you if like you want to go to dinner, I've never heard of that happening, but in professional interviews, that could happen a lot. So I highly recommend looking into that if you have time. Coming up, also November 3rd. November 3rd is a busy day for everybody. So we partnered with the Tigers for Cultivating Change Club at Wooden and with the Ag Center, with the Ag Department. And they're going to be doing movie nights at the library, Corpse Bride. I've never seen it, but can anyone attest to how good the movie is?
I love that movie. It makes me cry.
It makes you cry. It's not scary, like scary cry.
No.
Okay.
It's like a
Cartoon.
Is it Disney?
It's a sappy movie.
Is it Disney?
Love story.
Yeah, it's like so.
That's cute.
Love story.
Well, after a long day, November 3rd, please check out the movie to support SNDA and the Tigers for Cultivating Change Club. Also happening tomorrow. Olivia, you wanted to talk about this?
Yeah, so, you want to remove notes on it? The Student Health Center is having our open house. We apparently used to have this every year, but we haven't had it since I've been there, COVID and whatnot. So we're super excited to have it back. We're doing like a haunted theme because of Halloween. I will be in a taco costume, so like, just come for that.
Yeah. There's a costume contest.
There is a costume contest. You can win $100. There's a whole bunch of things. You basically get to like try out our services. So they have like health screenings. Emily and possibly me will be doing like a mindful eating thing.
So you can meet Emily.
You can meet Emily.
You can meet Emily tomorrow.
Let me see. There's a whole list of things on there.
If you participate in those services, right, then you get the curbside sliders and then free ice cream.
Yeah.
Free food.
Gail's ice cream, which is very good. There's an emotional support, pumpkin, body positive activity, cholesterol screening, glucose screening, blood pressure screening.
Do you get an emotional support pumpkin?
You get to paint it. Yeah, I know. HIV testing, will of wellness, vaccines, sexual health trivia. So fun. Posture pointers, need that. Beacon of empowerment, X-ray viewing, mindful eating, relaxation room. So fun.
And you don't need appointments for any of this.
No,
No.
you just show up.
Okay.
I think.
At the Student Health Center.
10 to 2 p.m.
Does everybody know where the Student Health Center is?
Just walk to the end of campus.
Yeah.
Right before you leave.
If you know where Chimes is, you pass it on your way to
Yeah, it
Chimes.
is right by me.
It's like by the School of Music, all of that stuff. If you need an actual map, I can provide that, I suppose.
So please check that out. Thanksgiving baskets are coming up. It is November. Brooke, did you want to kind of go over it?
Okay, well, I just, you guys. So I reached out to, the
Miss
lady
Chrissy?
in charge of, like, whenever drop updates for the baskets. I have not gotten a reply yet. But I don't know much information about the basket thing, to be honest. Like, what's involved with it? Other than just, I got the flyer, and I know that I'm going to be putting out, like, posting those around.
Yeah, so we'll put flyers up. We'll have a box outside my hands kitchen. We'll have a box outside my office. You can drop stuff off. If you want to go and buy stuff, make sure that it's appropriate for a family meal. So no more number 10 cans. We regular size cans, not number 10 cans.
You did it by weight.
Yeah, you did by weight. So we
So I was like, it was like this
Thanks for your love.
Yeah, we got an attitude from the food pantry about that. But so making sure it's like appropriate stuff for a family
So much
meal
corn.
for Thanksgiving. And so we'll collect as much as we can. If you want to just Venmo us money, we'll give you points for how much money you give us, and then we will go shopping to buy everything else that we need to be able to do about like 24 to 30 baskets. And we use our little purple totes to put those in. And then I usually go on Amazon. I have to write this down to get like stickers and like little coloring books and whatnot, so we can throw those in there. So we don't have a date for. We're shooting for basket assembly on the 17th, but that might move depending on when the church wants the baskets. So we'll keep y'all posted. But you can start dropping out food tomorrow.
Yeah. If you have corn
My hand in my office.
I actually thought about that.
I just have to pull my box out.
I was like, wait, why does she go by what you can buy it now?
Okay. So another bag distribution volunteer opportunity from NIDA. You wanted to talk about it?
Hi everyone, my name is Nida Jaral. I am a senior, majoring in dietetics. And I started a nonprofit in Baton Rouge about 17 months ago. And we basically just meet for like 1 to 2 hours once a month. And we package, food care packages, that's what we call them, for families. And then we distribute them to the families. Most of the families are actually around LSU that are suffering from food insecurity. And most of our volunteers are LSU students. So we're working with the Interfaith Federation to secure a location that's close to LSU. Most likely it's going to be the Presbyterian Church or the Methodist Church. And our next distribution is going to be on November 13th. Olivia is going to send out the Sign Up Genius link. We're also on Instagram. We can also sign up for volunteer hours if y'all want to do that. And, it's just 1 to 2 hours once a month, and you just get to help out some families in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
What's the Instagram name?
It's Najma Food Care, so it's just that right there.
No spaces.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you. Please sign up if you have the time. There's lots of families around LSU unknowingly suffering from food insecurity and
And one of our main, goals is to keep all of the recipients anonymous.
Anonymous, yeah.
So even our volunteers don't know who they're going to. So for safety and also to keep the recipients anonymous, we just ask them to drop off the package, ring the doorbell, and just leave.
Okay.
So we don't wait for you. They're not supposed to wait for the recipient to come to the door and then leave.
So volunteers can sign up to drop off.
Yes, so they can sign up to drop off or just come and just assemble the
And assemble?
packages.
Okay.
So it usually takes less than 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah. So another holiday fundraiser raffle. The prize information and form to purchase tickets will be sent out soon. We do this at the end of every semester. This is a big fundraiser for the club, and the prizes are pretty bomb, not gonna lie. I've heard there's some retro t-shirts in it.
There's at least one vintage SNDA sweatshirt that
Yes.
cannot be purchased anywhere.
Yes, anywhere.
We'll see what else is in my closet. That I haven't.
They usually include gift cards, kitchen gadgets, and fun LSU Saint stuff. Sometimes it's been like DI application prep. I know one year we did the light that you put in front of yourself when you're videoing. They can attach to your phone. Ring light. Yeah,
That was a good one.
that was a really good one. Especially everything being virtual.
There will be a
these days.
pink rose gold iPad mini.
That's a $10 ticket.
That's $10. So can you two email me your Amazon usernames?
Yeah.
And I can share them.
Okay. And that drawing will be the November meeting. So when you come meet Emily, because you're gonna want to meet Emily, she's awesome. We'll be doing the raffle. October
Victoria! Yay! So Victoria was the best SNDA member this month because she logged all of her service. So when I pulled it up, I couldn't help but see her name everywhere. So that's what gets you this stuff around here. You got to be logging your service. Even if you think I kept track of it, I probably didn't. So log it anyway. And then she helped multiple times with painting and putting the hay bale together, which obviously was a huge success. So yay, Victoria! I'll email you your certificate.
Thank you again, Victoria, for all your help. Okay, so that's kind of wrapping it up. This is all our handles for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you are not a member of the SNDA club, we highly encourage you to join. I see some new faces. So you can follow this link to sign up, dues, and the hazing training will be a part of the registration process. So if you have any questions, just let me know about that. But thank you so much for coming. Yes.
Okay, so for my job at the health center, normally we hire like in April, but for various reasons, we're hiring now. So super exciting. So you will actually, or whoever is hired, will begin working, I believe, in the spring. Like it literally got posted today, so not 100% sure. But you'll work with me all of spring. I'll train throughout that entire semester, and then you'll be free, you know, graduating. So it'll be super fun. But the job listing is posted on Handshake now. So if you just type in like dietitian assistant, it should come up. You do have to be a dietetics student, I believe. And it's really helpful if you've taken 2110 or 3110, both of those. But everything is listed on Handshake. So if you just go in there, look up dietetic assistant or dietitian assistant, it'll come up. It's super fun. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. Literally the best thing ever.
And Emily's coming next month, so.
But Emily's going to talk about it next month. But
Yeah.
it was literally posted today, so I wanted to tell y'all while you're here.
If you went to Fancy, make sure you print and sign this, because we're going to get you $155 back for your registration. So make sure you sign this. And we'll send an email on other stuff that we need.
I'll have to hunt you down.
Nope. Anything else? Can you sign in? Oh, Brand has a meeting on the 9th. I'm going to keep it to brand members only because it's in person and we have a space capacity. But if you are a paid brand member and you want to come and learn about diabetes education from the guru, Tasha Kowal herself at the Diabetes Center, that's going to be Wednesday, November 9th at 5:30.
It's only $10 to remember.
It's only $10 to be a member.
So just do it.
Any other announcements? Anybody else have anything to share?
If y'all have any questions about the student worker position at Pennington, feel free to reach out to me. I'll give you more information on that, tell you what I do at work. Really great job. You work directly with dietitians every time you're there, so great experience.
Yeah.
Great for your resume.
Great.
Yeah, great. Just great all
Great all around.
Just great. And her job was really interesting. I don't know about you guys.
It is
but
interesting, like, because not every day is the same. You're
No.
doing something new every day, so I never do before.
No.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.